will we will be free. For when the rising tide is turned in every London quarter, Parliament comes crashing down with Robert's Rules of Order.
Are you ready?
Yeah, let's go.
Wayne,
Yeah.
I need to find some kind of scoreboard.
A scoreboard.
Yeah.
Like a whiteboard that we could use for school.
Well, we got the
Or a
whiteboard, I suppose.
Or a small chalkboard.
Something so that I could show how I'm kicking his ass. Alrighty. Oh, God, you got such an easy one.
Well, I mean, that means I'll get it wrong, so here we go.
No. If you get this one wrong,
You're out.
we're doing you the Walk of Atonement. You know, you've seen Game of Thrones, right?
No.
Oh.
Remember, I killed my TV set a decade ago.
Oh. Shame. All right. A primary amendment is in order. A, when a secondary amendment is pending. B, when a main motion is pending. C, when the previous question is pending. D, when an appeal is pending.
Well, it definitely isn't D. Okay, read those off again.
A, when a secondary amendment is... You need the
You
first...
said a primary amendment is in order
Okay.
when.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
When a secondary amendment is pending. B, when a main motion is pending. C, when the previous question is pending.
Well, definitely B is true. A doesn't make a lot of sense because if a primary amendment
Remember,
secondary,
you wanted to speak up.
yeah, if a secondary
He
amendment,
starts to get tired.
if a secondary amendment is in order or is pending, then a primary amendment already exists, which means that it's not in order because you're waiting on that to get resolved. So that's not it. When a main motion is pending, you said was
B.
That's always true. C was
When the previous question is pending.
when the previous question is pending, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And the last one is
You already ruled that out. You said is when appeal is pending.
yeah, which has nothing to do with anything. So I'm sticking with B when the main motion is pending.
Yes, that's easy.
It's easy, but I still want to walk through
Oh
it.
no, you gotta walk through it because sometimes the easy ones
Trick you.
I've gotten tricked.
Yeah.
But let's take a look.
Where are we looking?
We're looking
Main motions. I'm guessing.
page 132.
That wasn't far off. I had 127.
And because we're doing things a little bit, as review for, things we know that others might.
Sure. What did I number?
How many levels of amendment are allowed?
2.
Right. So you got your main motion, then you can have your primary amendment, so your first one, and then a secondary amendment,
Right.
but you can't have a tertiary.
And you're allowed to speak twice on each one.
Right.
Which is
But what are the restrictions on the secondary amendment?
has to be germane, doesn't it?
To what?
The secondary amendment has to be germane to the primary.
Amendment.
Right.
No.
Which has to be germane to the main motion.
Right.
Right.
But it gets narrowed down.
Right.
Because a secondary amendment could be germane to the main motion, but not germane to the primary amendment, in which case it's out of order.
Right.
Okay.
So I'm going to guess and say line 12. Am I right?
What page?
What, 132?
Line 4, it says.
4. Interesting.
But most people ignore that with the primary and secondary and don't.
Because they first mentioned primary at line 12.
And
Or 13.
our
actually.
studio audience will recall at the platform committee meeting, people kept speaking beyond the amendment.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Time after time after
They
time.
do that. They were doing that in the bylaws, in our state bylaws committee regularly too, to the point where it was like, "You're off topic. Shut up." Can't say it that way, but you'd want to.
Yeah, it just says can be applied to any main motion.
Yeah. The amendment can be applied to itself, so that is to a pending primary amendment. So the secondary amendment
Or an amendment
to
to
an
an amendment.
amendment will result, but can't be applied to a secondary amendment.
So it says see degrees of amendment 135.
Which is the next page.
So it says 2 degrees of amendment, primary and secondary, are possible.
Not to be confused with 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Correct. He gave a TED talk on it. It was pretty interesting. The terms, I like this way. So the terms amendment of the first degree and amendment of the second degree, or amendment to the main question and amendment to the amendment, are correct expressions, but the terms primary amendment and secondary amendment are preferred. I've never heard those other ones, so we've been using the preferred one.
I'm guilty of amendment in the first degree. Guilty of love in the first degree. It's an old country song.
Okay, but I want to see here this asterisk.
For exceptions relating to indivisible conforming amendments and multiple amendments proposed by a
Yeah, we're going to forget about that for right now. That got a little too complicated.
That's a merge rabbit hole. Let's not go there.
There is another exception, though, because I'm going to go back on what's my favorite subject? You know my favorite subject.
Anything pink.
Well, no, on parliamentary stuff. What do I love more than anything? Substitute motions. That kind of is an exception that quasi allows more than 2 levels of amendment. Because the substitute is kind of a primary amendment, but it's a primary amendment that splits off into its own new main. So you could have 2 more levels of amendment. You want to know what I think of it as? In blackjack, when you
Splitting your pairs?
Yeah, it's exactly like that.
To me, that's dividing the question.
But
Well, it is.
Yeah.
well, but right, and then you get 2 more levels of amendment.
No.
Yeah, when you divide the question, you now have 2 main motions that can have 2 levels of amendment.
Well, I guess you could.
Right, it divides it into 2 main motions.
But that's not a substitute.
No, but it's.
A substitute is when you take.
I know what a substitute is.
When you take your 2 showing and say, "Give me a different card. Get rid of this thing," because you have a 10. Because you have a 10 in a hole, and you're looking for the
I'm
ace.
just talking about the levels. Oh my god! All right,
Folks, take my advice. Find yourself a D&D dungeon master. They can probably explain this a lot better than the average person.
How long
can.
has it been since you've played D&D?
I've never played D&D.
You've never played D&D?
I played Magic the Gathering, which is about the same levels of stuff.
Okay, I was gonna say what all that.
Before they went beyond the 5th edition and
I never played that.
And went crazy.
D&D was fun though.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna have my beer, and then you are.
Well, I can't do it over there.
We're done.
Burp.
Perfect.
Favor! Let's hear the opposition side. Like a stubborn donkey's bray. All opposed? You say nay. Opposed! Opposed! The motion carries anyway.